Hey everyone, today we're diving into a topic that might make some of you sweat just thinking about it, and it's virtual job interviews. Ah, yes. The joy of trying to look professional from your waist up while secretly wearing pajama bottoms or shorts. That is exactly the one. Now, since the pandemic, virtual interviews have become the norm, but let's be honest, they can feel pretty awkward at times as you have to observe yourself as well as your interviewer at the same time. Whereas in a physical interview situation, the focus was more on the interviewers. But fear not. Whether you're a seasoned pro who has done this a million times, well, more like 100 times, or a newbie who gets sweaty palms just opening Zoom, I've got some game-changing tips to help you nail that interview and maybe, just maybe, make the process a little less nerve-wracking. So grab your coffee or hey, a stress ball if that's more of your style, and let's get into it. My name is Stephen Adindo and I'm the lead coach at the Career Accelerators, where we help non-tech professionals transition into fantastic tech roles, earning six-figure salaries and completely transforming their lives. And if you do enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe to our channel. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. So tip number one, master your technology. Now, remember that time when you talked for 1 or 2 minutes, making some really valuable points before realizing you were on mute? Yep. So virtual interviews can be like navigating a tech minefield, but don't worry, I've got you covered with tips that will turn you into a tech whiz, or at least someone who won't get sabotaged by their own laptop. So when it comes to technology, the first thing to do is to check your device, whether it's a laptop, desktop, iPad, or any other device you will be using for the interview. Your camera and microphone are like your virtual handshake. Make sure they are working perfectly. And let's be real, using your phone for a virtual interview is like bringing a knife to a gunfight. Opt for a computer instead and make sure it's fully charged. Secondly, know the platform on which the interview will be conducted, whether it's Zoom, Teams, Skype, or Google Meet. Master the interview platform like it's your favorite Netflix show, and it could be Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, Prison Break, Friends, etc. The question is, can you share your screen without sharing your embarrassing browser tabs? If the answer is yes, then you're good to go. Point number 3, Wi-Fi check. Your Wi-Fi should be as strong and as reliable as the foundation of a skyscraper. A weak connection is like a weak handshake, not good for first impressions. Point number 4, dry run. Do a trial run with a friend. It's like dress rehearsals, but for your computer. This way you can test everything from your mic to your ability to find the mute button in record time. Check your tech at least 30 to 60 minutes before the actual interview. This is not time for any surprises. Point number 5, stay calm in the tech storm. Now, if tech issues arise, don't panic. Use the chat feature to keep your interviewer in the loop and call them if you need to. Sometimes a quick log off and log back on can save the day. At point number 6, have a plan B. Sometimes technology can be as unpredictable as weather forecasts. Have your phone ready for a good old-fashioned phone call if technology or your computer decides to take the day off. If everything else fails and you cannot reconnect, then email the interviewer or just finish the interview over a phone call. Remember, flexibility is key and it shows you can handle unexpected challenges. Now that you're equipped to handle any technology related curveballs, let's move on to the next tip. The second tip for acing your next online job interview is to ensure that you intentionally prepare for the interview. So this is your pre-interview preparation activities. Remember the saying, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. The same principle applies to online job interviews, and the way we put it is, failure to prepare for your online job interview is like showing up to a marathon without training. You might make it to the finish line, but I promise you it won't be pretty. But fear not, with the right preparation, you can turn your next online interview into a performance worthy of a standing ovation. The first thing to remember is that when preparing for an online interview, you need to create your stage. Imagine a virtual interview as a stage performance. Every detail counts. You are the star and your computer screen is your stage. Make it count. Secondly, rehearse. Think of potential interview questions and rehearse your answers. Here's a pro tip. Record these sessions. It's like watching a game tape before the big match. Analyze your body language, your responses. Check out if you're a confident hero or a nervous sidekick. Aim for the hero. I promise you it will pay off. Thirdly, please script out your answers. Write out your answers as if you were scripting a blockbuster movie. Get comfortable with your core responses. This way, when it's time to improvise, you're not fumbling for words like you're trying to remember your lines. With your stage set and your lines rehearsed, you're almost ready to take the spotlight. What's next on our journey to virtual interview mastery? It is tip number 3. You need to create an optimal interview environment. Imagine walking into an interview with a band playing in the background, your dog barking, and a neon live, laugh, love sign blinking behind you. Now, this sounds like a scene from a sitcom, right? Well, in a virtual interview, your environment can be just as distracting. Let's set the stage for success. Point number 1, your background should scream hire me, not help me clean my room. A plain background works wonders. It's like the little black dress of virtual interviews. Point number 2, light it up. Good lighting can make you look like the main character in a movie. Natural light is your best friend here. It's like free filter for your face, basically. Point number 3, silence is golden. Minimize noise, put your phone on silent. The last thing you need is your ringtone playing.
Just today, I swear I'm not doing anything.
In the middle of discussing your strengths during an online interview. Point number 4, family briefing. Inform everyone at home about your interview. You don't want surprise guest appearances like someone deciding this is the perfect time to mow the lawn or start a rock band in the next room. Point number 5, pet patrol. Love your furry friends, but maybe just keep them out of the interview room unless they're trained to bring you coffee, which might actually score you some points during an interview. Now that we've turned your interview space into a serene professional oasis, it's time to focus on the next tip, which is all about punctuality and professionalism. Now, imagine this. You show up to a virtual interview in your favorite superhero t-shirt. 10 minutes late, coffee in hand, as if you're catching up with an old friend. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? Let's talk about how being on time and dressing the part can set you apart. Point number 1, log in a few minutes early. It's like arriving early for a movie. You get the best seats, or in this case, a calm start. Showing up early is like a silent compliment to your interviewer's time. Point number 2, dress to impress. Now, dressing for a virtual interview isn't about winning a fashion show, but it's pretty close. Even if the company vibe is more beach than boardroom, aim for business casual. It's like saying I'm a professional, but I also know how to adapt my style when required. Remember, you're not hanging out at a friend's place, you're selling your brand. So leave the superhero tees and pajama bottoms for after hours. Business casual should be your mantra. Point number 3, reflect on your professionalism. Your outfit is a non-verbal cue. It's like saying, I'm serious about this role without actually having to sing it out loud. Remember, it's not about losing your individuality. It's about showing you understand and respect the professional setting. Point number 4, timeliness is next to godliness. Showing up late? No. That's a big no. It's like starting a marathon 10 minutes after everyone else. Aim to be early and you're already halfway to making a fantastic impression. So with punctuality and professionalism in your toolkit, you're well on your way to impressing in your next virtual interview. Now, tip number 5 brings us to the heart of the matter, communication skills. Now, think of your virtual interview as a first date. You want to look into the camera's eyes, charm them with your wit, and maybe, just maybe, make them laugh. So let's turn you into a charmer without the awkward pickup lines, of course. So the first point here is eye contact with the camera. Make love to the camera with your eyes. Well, not literally, but you get the idea. This is how you create a connection, even through a screen. Point number 2, engagement is key. Use hand gestures, nod, smile, be involved. Remember, it's a tennis match between 2 people, not a solo performance. Keep the conversation bouncing back and forth. Point number 3, let your personality shine. Throw in a joke, laugh at theirs. This isn't a courtroom drama. You're here to build a connection. Let your personality be the star of the show. Point number 4, keep the clouds away. Whether you're having a bad day or not, make sure you pack any clouds or bad day or negative energy outside the virtual interview room. Bring in your sunny side. It is contagious. I promise you this. Point number 5, flow naturally. Let your answers roll off your tongue like you're telling a story to a friend. Don't sound like you're reading from a teleprompter. Point number 6, build rapport. You're not just another interviewee. Ask how their day is going. Share a personal story or find a common interest. Be the interview they would remember for all the right reasons. Point number 7, posture matters. Sit up straight, but don't be stiff. You want to look confident and at ease, not like you're bracing for a roller coaster ride. Point number 8, mute. The mute button is your secret weapon. Use the mute button strategically. It's there to save you from broadcasting any unexpected background surprises. Tip number 6, enhance your virtual interview etiquette. It's like learning the steps to a graceful dance. One wrong step and you're stepping on toes, but get it right and you glide across the floor like a pro. Let's make sure you're ready to tango with etiquette. Point number 1, listening is golden. Good listening isn't just about waiting for your turn to talk. It's an art. Wait for the interviewer to finish their thoughts before chiming in. It shows you're not just hearing, but you're absorbing and reflecting on what they're saying. Point number 2, your face can say 1,000 words without uttering a single word. So nodding, smiling, showing expressions are like subtitles to your conversation. They also add a bit of color to the conversation, a bit of context, a bit of emotion to the conversation. Point number 3, politeness. Remember, manners make it a man or a woman. A simple thank you at the end of the interview, acknowledging their time and consideration, leaves a lasting impression after the interview. Point number 4, close with grace. As the interview wraps up, reiterate your interest in the position and thank them profusely for the opportunity. It's like leaving a last bite of a delicious meal. It should be satisfying and memorable. Now that you have been equipped with the know-how of virtual interview etiquette, you're all set to impress and succeed. Let's look at tip number 7, which is all about utilizing tools and resources. Now imagine stepping into a virtual interview armed with nothing but your charm. Sure, charm is great, but even Thor needs his Mjolnir or Mjolnir.
Mjolnir? What's Mjolnir?
Way it's his hammer basically. Now let's talk about some of the tools that can turn you from an interviewee into an interview superhero. Point number 1, strategic note taking. Keep notes. Please don't let them become a crutch during the interview. They're like a GPS, helpful, but you shouldn't be staring at it the whole journey. Use them sparingly to guide you, not to dictate your part. Point number 2, show and tell. Be ready to showcase your work or your portfolio. This is your red carpet moment. Let your achievements do the talking and let your confidence be the spotlight. So whether you've created some documents in the past or you have some artifacts that you can show and share during the interview, please make sure you have them ready to share. Tip number 3, script-free speaking. Speaking from experience beats reading from a script every single time. As a hiring manager, I can tell when you're reciting lines versus sharing real stories. Be authentic, not an actor. Tip number 4, post-it power. Write high-level thoughts on a post-it note and you can place them all around your screens. It's like having cue cards but without the obvious glances down, for example. Tip number 5, note taking. Now this is a personal favorite. Jot down important points during the interview. It shows engagement and helps you to keep track of complex questions. Just give your interviewer a heads up. It's polite and prevents misunderstandings. For example, during interviews I jot down questions, especially when they're multi-layered, so I can remember to answer them all. I also jot down points that I want to make so I don't forget them. You can do this using the classic paper and pen. Yep, old school I know you might say, but effective 1000%. With these tools and resources at your disposal, you're more than ready to tackle any virtual interview challenge. Now let's bring it all together, shall we? So tip number 8, beginning and ending the interview. Now think of this as the opening and closing scenes of your favorite movie. You want to start with a scene that grabs attention and end with one that leaves them wanting more. Let's make sure your virtual interview has a blockbuster beginning and a memorable ending. Point number 1, first impressions count. Start with a confident greeting. It's like opening line of a great novel. It sets the tone. A friendly hello and a brief introduction can actually work wonders. Point number 2, closing with grace. End as you began, with class. A gracious and heartfelt thank you shows appreciation for their time and consideration. It leaves a lasting, pleasant aftertaste. Point number 3, rapport through personalization. Build a connection. If you can, weave in a personalized comment or two, maybe something you found about the company or the interviewer. It shows you've done your homework. Point number 4, master the art of small talk. Talk about the weather, sports, or the latest TV show. Now keep it light and breezy, avoiding diving into deep end of politics or religion. You're not trying to start a debate club, I promise you that. Point number 5, the digital handshake. Remember, since you can't physically shake hands, a wave at the beginning and end of the interview can be your digital handshake. It's friendly, approachable, and less awkward than a virtual high five, something like this. Now let's go to tip number 9. So with your interview opening and closing scenes now set for success, you're almost at the finish line. But before we wrap up, there's one more tip to explore that could give you a significant edge. And that's tip number 9. Now, these are the post-interview best practices. The interview might be over, but your work isn't. Just like the end credits scene in a superhero movie, what you do after the interview can set the stage for what comes next. Let's ensure that your post-interview actions leave a lasting impression. Point number 1, the power of a thank you note. A thank you note or email is like sending a friendly reminder of your fabulousness. It shows you value their time and keeps you on their radar. Plus, it's just good manners. Now, if you missed saying anything important during the interview, the thank you note is your backstage pass to highlight those points. It's your chance to shine the spotlight on what makes you unique. Think of your thank you note as the cherry on top. If the hiring manager is on the fence between you and another candidate, this small gesture could be the gentle nudge that tips the scales in your favor. Tip number 4, your thank you note should be like perfect tweet. Short, sweet, and to the point. Remember, it's a note, not a novel. And then tip number 5, be ready for round 2. Sometimes the virtual interview is just the opening act. Be prepared for an in-person meeting and keep your suit ironed and your confidence intact and ready to impress your interviewer when you meet them face to face. And there you have it. We've covered everything from the tech setup to the thank you note. Which of these tips resonated with you the most? Remember, each piece of advice is a tool in your arsenal for nailing that interview. Master these virtual interview tips and you're set for success. We wish you the best of luck, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more career tips and advice.